Welcome everyone to a mini lecture covering the circulatory system med terms. I'm going to start by introducing why we have parts to a term. And in this case, we have a suffix, which is at the end of the sentence, and in this case, it's itis. And the itis, we've got to make sure we have a dash there so it indicates a suffix, means inflammation. Then we're going to have the cardi, and in this case, in this particular term, we do not have a prefix. We just have two word roots. We have myo, which means muscle, and we have cardi, which means heart. Okay? Now each piece of the word, this usually indicates some type of condition. Okay, and in this case it's inflammation. And then we have our basics. This is usually our anatomy piece of our word. And that's usually Latin in nature, where the suffix is usually Greek in nature. Okay, let's continue on with the common suffixes associated with the circulatory system. Now remember one point. If you can remember whether it's pertaining to or a condition for the suffix, then you can pretty much do it across the entire body system. Because one, our body has cells, and that's where erythrocytes come in, and then we have hemostasis. Okay, let's start with hemostasis. So we have hemo right here. That means blood, and that's our word root. Then we have stasis. Stasis is our suffix, and that means to stop. And in this case, we want to stop bleeding. And yes, we actually do, because otherwise we could hemorrhage, go into shock, and, well, then you're toast. Next, we have erythrocytes. Okay, erythrocyte, a cell. I could add an S to that, and that would make it plural. But we have erythro, and that's a color. Now, what I want to encourage you to do is also make a little chart with the colors, because you could have leukocytes, that's white, correct? So we have thrombocytes, anything that goes with the site, think about that, but we have colors. There's cyanosis, for example, that's blue. So now you've got red, white, and blue. So again, we have cell. Again, we could put an S at the end and make it plural. Okay, think about Scrabble. It's kind of fun like that. And then go with our erythro, which is red, our color red. Okay, so red cells. Okay, this particular term, the first one, endocarditis, should look familiar to you. As in cardiitis, we just added the endo, which is a prefix, okay, which we'll get to later. But in this case, we want to look at the word root of this particular term. And in this case, it's the inflammation of the lining of the heart. So let's break it down. We have cardio, okay, so it's right here, cardi, C-A-R-D-I, the slash, and the O. Okay, so endocarditis, and again, it's the inflammation of the lining of the heart. Then we have angiogram. An angiogram is, and people get this one confused, angio is our actual term. Gram deals with like an x-ray. So this is like the x-ray part of it. Kind of remember it that way. So you have vessels. Okay, so we're looking or getting an x-ray of the vessels of the heart or the body. Our last term is one of my favorites. It's plebo, like in phlebitis. Okay, kind of rolls off the tongue, if you will. Again, you have the suffix, which is very common. So if all else goes wrong and you can't figure anything out and it has itis at the end, you know it's inflammation. Okay, but we have phlebo. And that's this part of the word right here. And you spell it P-H-L-E-B-O. So just add an O right there. And you've got phlebitis. And then that means you have an inflammation of your veins. Vessels, veins. Okay? Okay, so we're looking at some prefixes for the circulatory system. And what you're going to find out is that some of these can actually go into other body systems as well. Brady, for example, can go into the respiratory system, as well as tachy, which is the last term on this particular slide right here. Okay, so Brady means slow. So we can have bradycardia, which means a slow heartbeat, and it's usually about 60 beats per round. So that's pretty slow. Then we have dis as an abnormal or lacking. So again, you can always remember this one is dysfunctional. I mean, who doesn't come from some dysfunction? I mean, I come from dysfunction all the time. So abnormal or dysfunctional, think about that again, lacking or abnormal. Dysarrhythmia, so it's an abnormal rhythm, as an example. Then we have pericardium or pericardii, and that means we're going around, okay? So we're around the heart, for example. And then our last term, which is tachy, you can also put into the respiratory system, and that means fast. So we have a tachycardia, which is very common in younger women, and that means a fast heartbeat. The circulatory system has a ton of diseases, but I'm going to focus on just to kind of get you started. Okay, we have the first term, which is our myocardial infarction. So this particular term has myo, if you remember, is muscle, so there's myo, okay? Then we have cardio, which is our heart, and is pertaining to the heart muscle, okay? So pertaining to is the AL, heart muscle, okay? And infarction. This is also known as what? Hopefully you stop, pause, and go, it's a heart attack. And this is what you would give me if you don't study for your exams. That you don't want to give Dr. J a heart attack, okay? Because that's not good. And then we have dysrhythmia. This is, if you remember what the prefix is, dys, I'm going to go ahead and underline it so you remember, means what? Lack or abnormal. And then we have rhythm. And then you have the IA. Okay, here's the pertaining to. Again, we've got a suffix. So we have pertaining to an abnormal rhythm. That's the basic breakdown. There's more to it than that, because you can have tachycardia and get dysrhythmia. You can have bradycardia and get dysrhythmia. Okay, so keep in mind these two particular terms because they're very common circulatory diseases. Okay, the circulatory, well, every body system has their own specialists. And in this case, the circulatory system has a hematologist. A hematologist is someone who studies the blood. Now, if we break this down, we have hemato, which is the blood. And then we have the ologist. Now, if you remember, ology is the study of, so we have someone who studies the blood. Okay? Then we have a phlebotomist. Remember, phlebo, great word, rolls off the tongue. Again, what's this mean? Vein. Okay? And we have the phlebotomist. This is a great part-time job, by the way, folks. This is somebody who actually pokes you in the arm, takes your blood. I'm sure everybody's had that done at one point in time, and then sends it off to a lab. And just a little FYI, kind of cool tidbit, each tube that they put the blood in has a little color code to it, and there's like over 100 color codes. And that means a certain blood test. So for example, are they testing for LDLs, which is our lipoproteins for the lowly cholesterol, or the HDL for the happy cholesterol, or maybe they're looking for triglycerides. Each tube has a purpose. Okay, so in the cardiovascular system, we have a number of procedures. Two common ones, electrocardiogram, which is the gram part, is our suffix, and that means to record. Let me underline that for you. The gram part, that means to record. And again, we have the electro, and then we have cardio right in here too. So we're looking at the electrical impulses of the heart. Then we have echo, 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 echo. Do you get it? That's supposed to make you laugh. Echocardiography, and that means to write. We have this one right here. Okay, I should go back and tell you that if you can think about the abbreviation with the electrocardiogram, we have the ECG. Okay, just kind of remember that one. That one goes with this, by the way, okay, with that term. And then we have the echocardiography, and again, we're just looking for the sound of the heart. We're recording the sound of the heart, or we're writing the sound of the heart. Okay, so to end this little mini lecture, I'm going to give you some abbreviations to kind of consider. The first one is blood pressure. That's pretty easy, actually. BP. Okay, then we have coronary artery disease, a CAD. We call that an event. And then we have MI, okay, like Michigan, like missing in action, okay? If we have a myocardial infarction, that means you're having basically you're having a heart attack, and that means your heartbeat is missing in action.